The secret reason why some of these altcoins are pumping 40, 50, or even 70% in a single day, while other altcoins are bleeding to the downside. It's not what you think, but by understanding the reason behind it, you're going to be able to identify altcoins with a high probability of seeing significant pumps in the coming days ahead. I'm also going to tell you in this video why there is huge amounts of controversy surrounding the Bitcoin price right now. Are we going to get rejected from this trend line here and see Bitcoin crashing towards the downside like many people are saying, or is there something that can hold us and see us pushing more aggressively towards the upside out of a trend line that we've been stuck behind since the 20th of January? All of that in today's video, so hit the like button and let's get into it. Now, before we dive in and find out why certain altcoins like Alex here are pumping 55% today against RSS3, which is down 20% today, let's have a look at what's going on with Bitcoin, because it's kind of rooted to everything we do in crypto. And as you can see, Bitcoin is running into a very key area on the charts. Why is it so key? Well, we've been stuck in this downtrend since the 20th of January, bouncing off of this every single time. And right this second, Bitcoin appears to be struggling to break through. Now, I understand why many people out there are calling for new lows if you look at this from a purely chart perspective. I mean, we're running into a key area of resistance that was previously support up here. You can see we have been sold off every time Bitcoin has been bouncing into this area. And right now, Bitcoin appears to be showing us that the markets are going lower. So if you go and look at anyone who's simply just looking at chart analysis, they'll be telling you that prices are going lower. But as you know, if you're subscribed to the House of Crypto, we've been paying close attention recently to this liquidity index, this black line here. And as you can see, after bottoming out over the weekend, we are anticipating a move higher until the end of May. Now, does that mean that we can't see any dips towards the downside? Well, no, guys, we're not going to see one solid green candle towards the upside. There is obviously no surprise here because we're running into this little blip here on the global liquidity index, and what we're expecting is potentially to see maybe a little bit of a dip, who knows how big, until sort of this Saturday into Sunday. But as you can see, it doesn't really matter, because look, this global liquidity index from the 30th of March, which is on Sunday, is going to drive more aggressively than we've been seeing drive this week. Now, I told you 24th of March was worth paying attention to, which was just a couple of days ago, and as you can see, we were moving towards the upside here. Now, in the short term, it wouldn't surprise me if we did have a little bit of a dip down. There is a CME gap around 84k, which would just simply take us back to these levels, and we could potentially just see a move like this. Now, obviously, this is not financial advice. Go and do your own research. We're literally betting on the fact that over the last years, okay, every time we've seen a significant reversal in the global liquidity index, minus 70 days, then we've seen a significant pump in Bitcoin. Okay, we've seen one here, push towards the upside. We saw one before, big push towards the upside, both in liquidity and Bitcoin prices. So we're expecting to see much the same. Give or take a few days. It doesn't have to be to the day perfect. We've already seen moves up this week. I anticipate seeing further moves up over the coming weeks ahead. If we are so lucky to see another dip towards the downside, then it is your chance to capitalize on investing into certain coins and certain narratives. I'll tell you those narratives after we've taken a deep dive in to understand the inner goings on of the crypto bubbles chart and what is really happening here, because I understand this is a little bit confusing. Today, we've seen Bitcoin up, and you've started to see lots of different altcoins having some pretty strong performances. Now, here's the truth behind it all, and you might not like it. There are different things that drive different cryptocurrencies at any given time. I believe there's around 3 or perhaps 4 different things that move cryptos on any given day. Now, this is the top 100 cryptos. And as you can see, pretty much across the board, these coins, with the exception of a few, okay, these coins are all in the green. So why are all of these coins in the green? But if we go down the list, you will start to see a lot more kind of variation in between big green bubbles and like big red ones. Well, it's because of this. Top 100 coins, typically, although not all, including PI is not on there, are on Binance, Coinbase, all sorts of leveraged trading platforms. There is a lot of volume being traded through these coins. Therefore, when lots of volume is being traded, who is moving the markets? Typically market makers. Why are they moving the markets? Well, because they're moving it in line with what's going on with Bitcoin, what's going on with liquidity, what's going on with who's longing and shorting the markets, etc. So typically when Bitcoin is green, you can expect to see the majority, not all, but the majority of the large caps rallying as well. Now within here, you might see certain narratives starting to show some attention. For example, here we can see some of the meme coins like Bonk. That one's just disappeared. Can't remember what it was. SPX 900, Pepe, Doge showing some strength. Now, that might be on one particular day. We've just seen market makers deciding to push narratives over another. And in order for you to pick up ahead of time what's going to happen here, ultimately, you need to understand a little bit more about narratives and what is actually driving these projects fundamentally. I'll talk about that later on. But let's go down the list a bit and find some other coins out there that are starting to show signs of strength. Now, some of these coins are meme coins, some of them are AI agents, but ultimately, all of these coins have what? They all have very small market caps, but at least have market caps that are pretty easily moved without the use of market makers. Now, typically, a lot of these projects down the list are not on Binance, okay, or not on major exchanges. They don't have huge amounts of futures volume driving them. These are mainly driven by you and me and others buying into these crypto coins. So I want to ask you, when do you go and buy a crypto coin? Maybe you've read about some promising and exciting news. News is a factor that drives some of these coins, but I guarantee pretty much that it's not the news that's driving these prices. You may end up buying into coins because you've heard about them on a YouTube video or a Twitter video. And while you might not like it, from time to time we'll talk about coins, and coins will move significantly because of that person talking about. Now, there are particular influencers who have more influence than others, and that's because they have maybe the biggest audience, okay? Who has some of the biggest influence across crypto YouTube, who's pretty transparent about coins that he is going to talk about? Alex Becker, okay? Why is Alex Becker quite an easy one to cover? I would also put LEO Trades in that category. Well, because they don't really make content very often. They only typically make content when the market's going up, which, to be fair, is probably a good idea, because making content when the markets are going down can be a little bit painful. So how do we know which coins Alex Becker and his mates are about to talk about? Well, you just go across to Alex Becker's Twitter page and you see that Alex Becker is making a video on real-world assets coming later this week. So this is actually really easy. Alex Becker doesn't really talk about real-world asset coins very often, okay? He's typically talking about gaming and AI coins and other kind of like narrative coins that are easy to understand for retail investors. Real-world assets is a little bit kind of out there because it's not so popular with retail investors, but it should be, because BlackRock, the world's biggest asset manager, is talking about tokenization of real-world assets. You know, they partnered with Ondo, they partnered with others. Alex Becker is not necessarily going to partner with the likes of Ondo because they're probably a bit too big. He is aware that he moves the markets. He wants to invest in smaller market cap coins. So I'll do you a favor, without telling you specifically which coins he's going to talk about, because I don't know for sure. I don't know him personally, but I can have a very good guess at what he's going to talk about. Is go to glasp.co, download this onto your Chrome. It's absolutely free. It's got 5 stars. Okay, I'm not sponsored by Glasp. Then search for Alex Becker. Interestingly, as you come down below, I am actually the 2nd ranking for Alex Becker, which is pretty good SEO work on my point. Anyway, go for Alex Becker and go for crypto. And then what you want to do is go through a few of the videos that he's made more recently. He hasn't really made very many. Let's just click on that last one. And then using Glasp, I'm just going to copy his transcript. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I'm going to say, what coins does he mention? Now, guys, okay, crypto is made up of 2 different things. When we're going larger cap, we have to go after more kind of fundamental strength reasons as to why a crypto coin is good versus why one is bad, whether the narrative is suitable or whatever. But when it comes to smaller cap coins in a short space of time that can really see some crazy moves, there's few better ways to do it than front running influencers. And if you want to front run others before I make videos about certain altcoins, then make sure you're following me over on Twitter. It's Peter_THOC. There's a few scammers out already trying to impersonate me. Make sure it's got the blue check mark. I update here more regularly than I do on YouTube. So often I'm talking about different crypto altcoins and things that I'm investing in before I get the chance to talk about them on YouTube. So make sure you're following me over here. Now, as you can see, Alex Becker in his last video talks about these coins. Ondo, obviously, is the RWA, real world asset, as is Chainlink, but these coins he's not going to move. But he's being a little bit safer here. If you go back towards like December, January time, when the market was seeing some exciting moves towards the upside, I guarantee there's some clues there about altcoins that he's very likely going to mention, particularly real world asset coins. I've heard him talk about Clearball before, and there's others as well that are on the list. Obviously, don't just go and buy them as well. Go and understand a little bit more about that particular project and why it might be something of interest to you. Clearball Ripple, as we know, is in the narrative of real-world assets. The point of the real-world assets right now is he's going to be talking about real-world asset coins, as he says here. So that's a bit of a clue as to why that might be an interesting one. Now, obviously, go through the videos and find the other real-world assets that he's talking about, if you so wish. And it's worth understanding what altcoins certain influencers are holding, because lots of them did bleed towards the downside from December into around now, particularly the smaller caps. Why did they do that? They did that because retail investors, who are the ones who are buying them and pushing the prices up, sold first, because they typically sell and panic sell out of the markets. Okay, so that's why lots of those kind of top quality projects in a way have sold off. But if you go and buy into them now, before everyone starts to make videos on AI coins and real world asset coins and whatever again, then you can get in before they start to move higher. Make sense? I've kind of given the game away, haven't I? But ultimately, I'm giving you a chance to get into these coins before anyone's going to talk about them, because that's going to come in the coming weeks. Okay, as soon as Bitcoin decides what it's doing and it starts to push higher, and as you can see from this black line, whether it happens today or tomorrow or next week or the week after, it's going to start going higher, and eventually the confidence will return to the market. And when it does, everyone's going to be aping into altcoins. Everyone's going to be talking about altcoins. Don't ape into them after you've heard about them. Ape into them before anyone's talked about them. Now, that's obviously not for the faint of heart. Okay, there's obviously risk elements involved in going and buying into smaller cap altcoins, particularly now. What I would say to you right now is obviously keep a little bit of cash in reserve, as always. This is obviously not financial advice, by the way. This is just, let me just tell you what I'm doing rather than even hint at giving you the idea that you should go and follow my advice. What I'm doing right now is I have a little bit of cash on the side. I would say about 5% of my overall crypto holdings in USDT, ready to buy something or ready to buy a few things should the market take a dip. Now, where do you want to buy into should the market take a dip? You probably would want to go after some of the safest options. Simply put, there are a few elements to look at. I've already said in the past, layer ones, real world assets, I would say AI, I would say deep in, and I would say gaming. Let me prove to you why these are the areas to look into. This is DeFiLlama.com. As you can see, on this chart, you have all of the layer one total value locked. As you can see through here, a lot of the coins that were around in the last bull market that have performed well in this bull market have managed to maintain a good amount of total value locked. Okay, as you can see, we've got Ethereum's, we've got the Binance Smart Chain, you've got Tron. Solana sold off at the end of bear market, but since then has built up its TVL. We've seen TVL growth in the likes of Sui, Aptos, Sonic here, used to be Phantom. Again, TVL absolutely surging towards the upside. The price is yet to reflect this, but as the market rebuilds once more, there will be confidence returning to these areas. And if there is further downside, because of this kind of strength shown in these coins and the projects that are building on them, they're not going to see too much downside pain. Okay, Sui was another example of this. If you look at how Sui's performed over the last few months, while it did see a bit of a pullback, it's still well above prices that it saw back in August and September. And that's because the TVL has managed to maintain itself. Okay, so TVL now starting to move towards the upside once more. Sui, I believe Aptos has now seen increase in TVL. This is pretty positive out there compared to lots of other layer ones. Okay, so I would focus towards layer ones with strength shown here. Now, just for clarity, I personally do own Aptos. I do own Sui, and I'll make a video on Sui and its upcoming Walrus tomorrow. So if you want to know more about Sui in deep dive, then subscribe. I'm also going to start doing more technical deep dives into different projects as well. So make sure you are subscribed to catch all of that. Now, where else would I look? Think about how crypto markets work. Once the market returns to strength, everyone is looking for a reason to invest in certain coins. Okay, smart money, dumb money, you name it. There are certain narratives that are very appealing for everyone. Video games is probably the most interesting. Why? Because video games make up a huge portion of the entertainment industry. It's like twice as big as movies. It's huge, okay? And guess what? Everyone around the world are playing games right now, and it's a very natural fit for blockchain. It's also very appealing and easy to understand for people like you and me to understand why games might do well if a bull market rages on. This is US video game market surging towards the upside. And this is where I would be directing my investments if I was to look into the gaming niche. Look at mobile, blue in the middle, the dark blue. Look at how it takes more and more market share from the market over time. There's a reason for this, is because the video game market is trending and it is booming. This is a little bit late, 2022, but I guarantee it's bigger than that now, across Asia, Australasia, etc. Why? It's because it's a developing market. There is a huge growth in people who now own mobile phones to be able to access different games. there are less people who own laptop computers and own PlayStations, etc., because they're expensive. You can now buy a $50 to $100 phone and be able to play all these different games as well. So focus towards mobile games, etc. I personally hold My Lovely Planet for that reason, because it comes from the makers of Candy Crush and is thought of to be the Web3 Candy Crush. Look into AI. So obvious. Projected hardware spend by AI. As you can see, by 2030, we're expecting a $1.7 trillion spend in the US on hardware. And it's a continual annual growth rate of 43%, which is ludicrously big. Okay, AI is just one of the most natural, most obvious areas to be looking into crypto. Go after larger market cap crypto projects for less risk, like Tau Potenza, like Render, etc. If you want smaller market cap, more degen access to this particular area, I would say Based AI is worth a look into. I would say Netmind token also worth a look into, and I'll look at those in more depth in coming weeks. And the final one, which I used to bang on about all the time, as well as AI, is you've got deep in stuff that's kind of deep in AI crossover, like Aether, like IO.net, like Akash, etc. Why? Because there's a huge scaling issue in AI. This is indicating how much growth there is in AI, but the amount of compute power and stuff you need to grow all these different AI products like ChatGPT and whatever is enormous. And the demand is just so much bigger than the supply and the ability for the supply to grow. Because it takes NVIDIA a long time to make these chips, they're incredibly expensive, the GPUs, etc. And that's what causes the backlog. That's why Aether, despite having a bit of a poor performance on the charts recently, has done $100 million in revenue, making it a top 20 project when you look at revenue. Okay, Aether definitely worth looking into for that reason. Let me just say, I am not trying to get you to move around from different projects. That is the last thing I want to do. Loads of different projects that you're holding right now, I would say 95% of them will come back to where they were before when you bought them, and probably go way beyond that as this bull market rages on. A lot of these things I'm talking about is if you happen to be, ready to re-enter the market, or if you were to kind of wonder whether or not you were kind of looking in the right areas. Key narratives is so important. Go and look at revenue, go and look at like actual proof that something is happening and growing on a project. Okay, lots of people can say, oh, you should be investing in this blockchain or that blockchain because it's the fastest or whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, go and look at blockchains that have projects being built on them, that is already being utilized, showing good volume, etc. It's just going to make your life so much easier. Now, also in deep in areas, you've got projects like Peak, which have suddenly started to wake up again. This again appeals really nicely to retail. I guarantee if you go and look at the website for Peak Network, you're going to be like, wow, this looks really cool. I want to invest in this. And because you think like that, so does every other retailer who's waiting to get back in the space. The same things that cause those projects to pump back in November, December will be the same things to get them to pump again. Okay? They just came down hard because retailers panic sold. And those retailers will come back in and they'll buy the same projects. And particularly because the same influencers will talk about those same projects, and probably because they're good projects. Okay, so it should be fairly straightforward to see what I'm getting at here. Now, obviously, again, keep some money on the side. You never know what pieces of news or drama comes out, or market manipulation. But in the next few days, let's see what happens. I do see this little dip here. It doesn't really bother me too much. I think we're going to be okay. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm going to bring you more in-depth information about lots of different projects. I'm going to go back to making 2 videos a day at some point. It's going to be intense, but you're going to know everything, and you're going to be up to date with what's going on in crypto. Now, obviously, if you've been watching my YouTube videos for a while, you would have known that I got scammed the other day, which was not very nice. But since then, I've upgraded all my security, and I've been using Ledger hardware wallets like this one, which is a Flex with a touchscreen. It's very cool. I highly recommend that you go and get yourself a hardware wallet of any kind. But I've managed to secure a deal with ledger.com, which is an affiliate deal. So I will make a small commission should you buy a Ledger wallet through ledger.com. But the more important thing is if you go through my link down below, you're going to get yourself up to $70 worth of Bitcoin into your Ledger. Okay, so you're going to get a voucher which you can then use to transfer Bitcoin directly into your Ledger wallet. There is different Ledger wallets with different offers available. Make sure you use the link down below to go and get yourself a Ledger wallet. Now, remember, whatever I've said on this video, it is literally what I personally do, what I'm talking about right now. Go and study it for yourself. Understand what's going on. The more you understand this market and the more you realize exactly how everything is working, the easier it is going to be for you to make money. If you're not prepared to do it and you're just going to sit back and just try to get spoon-fed through this market, I guarantee it's going to destroy you. Don't be that guy, okay? You've got an opportunity to make huge amounts of cash in the coming months if you make your intentions to do it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.